Hey, it's Dave. Welcome back to my channel. So last night we had a gig. We played in Brookline with my band. I didn't have time to take my camera. I just had so much gear with me. I had my acoustic because we did two songs. We did the Dave Mason song, We Just Disagree, and we did the Stones, You Can't Always Get What You Want. And then I brought my lap steel because we did Breathe by Pink Floyd and Lunatic Fringe by Red Rider. And then I brought my B-Bender telly because we did All My Love, and of course I had my main Strat, well, one of my main Strats, my black one. And so I was like, I don't want to bring my camera. I'll never take, I won't even have any, it just would completely mess up my head to have something else to be worried about. Where's this, where's that, and just with all the gear that I brought. So, but I did take some footage with my phone, which I'm going to show you of my pedal board, and then we're going to talk about my pedals. All right, so here. This is my live pedal board.
Yeah, it's coming through.
Okay. Should be the loudest thing there. What? Makes everyone say something. Check. All right. What do you think? All right. Yeah, it sounds good. Your drums are loud in my head. Yeah, you just let that kick in. Keep a tight perimeter. Alrighty then. So that's my board. And I thought it would just be easy to talk about my pedals and how I use them as opposed to trying to set it up, getting it mic'd right, and then you're going to hear it and be like, well, I mean, does it sound like how I hear it? I don't think so. I think it's just best that I talk about it. If you're interested in one of the pedals, we could talk further about it, or you could look it up and listen to somebody who's set up for demoing pedals, which I'm not. You know, when I do my things, I'm doing it out of a Fender Mustang amp that goes in USB. I'm using like Fender Fuse is what I use to control the amp. But, you know, I'm not really set up to demo pedals, so let me just talk about them. I also want to make the point that my board is really two pedal boards next to each other. The one that's on the right-hand side, the one that the guitar actually plugs into, is all the drives, compression, and stuff like that. And that goes into the face of the amp. The second one is all through the effects loop. So first, I'm going to talk about the direct board that goes through the face of the amp, and then we'll talk about what goes through the effects loop. All right. So the first pedal that I'm plugged into is the JHS Angry Charlie version 2. Now this is my Marshall sound, my dual rectifier sound. This is like, I use it on songs like Stone in Love. I use it on Aaliyah. It's that classic Marshall tone that I have it set for. It's great. I used to use the Wampler Pinnacle. I just always felt like it didn't have the amount of gain, and the gain just didn't sound right to me. It didn't sound as Marshall-y to me. I'm not even sure if that is even true. I just think that the Pinnacle doesn't sound as good, and the Angry Charlie has a better sound. Now, I used to have a problem with the Angry Charlie because I used to have it further back. Because what I used to do is I used to like to set up my drives going lighter to heavier. But what I realized was that the Angry Charlie doesn't like low impedance in its face. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to put it first. So I use it first. It goes, and then when I'll discuss later what I use to boost the signal when I want to solo. But anyway, so that's the first pedal I'm using. The second pedal in my board is by Full Tone, and that is called the Secret Freak. And this is supposed to be like a push mid-range sound, like Boston sound on like Peace of Mind. I use it for the AC/DC song "You Shook Me All Night Long," and the reason why I use it is because it makes my Strat sound like an SG going through a Marshall. So there you go. The next pedal after that is the Wampler Clean Buffer that doesn't have a on-off switch. It's just it's the original clean buffer that he made. And for those of you who don't know what a buffer does, it converts to low impedance. It brings the highs back. It kind of makes the cable disappear when you're using all this cabling. The issue is when you're using the amount of effects that I'm using, it's not 100%, and that goes on like most pro levels, which is when you have a big board that you need something to drive it. And so years ago in Santa Monica, my neighbor came upstairs to my place, and he's like, "Oh, you got to try this pedal. It's called the Cornish Line Driver," and I think it was the Line Driver 3. Anyways, I plugged it in, took off my buffer, put that on, and I was like, there's that sound. Everything sounds unbelievable. It was like every pedal disappeared. It was like I was plugged straight into my amp. It sounded awesome. I'm like, how much is this pedal? He's like, I think I paid $600. I'm like, yeah, no, I ain't doing it. So what ended up happening was I ended up putting back my buffer on and thinking to myself, well, what is this, what are we looking at here? We're looking at, he's got a line driver which acts as a buffer and a driver. So I was like, well, let me try a couple of different pedals. And I tried the Fat Boost 3 by Full Tone behind my buffer. And I could pump the treble up just a little bit, the drive up just to here, and boom, all of a sudden I got the exact same effect that I got out of the Cornish pedal. And so there I was. So the next pedal in mine is the Full Tone Fat Boost 3, and that's always on. Both those pedals are always on. They act as like a line driver to give me that signal that sounds just like I'm plugged into my amp when everything's off. I don't touch those pedals. The only thing I shut off, which I only shut off when I turn on those two pedals, either the Secret Freak or the Angry Charlie, is I'll shut off the compressor, which comes next, and I use the Wampler Ego compressor. And now the only reason why I use the Ego compressor and why I'm so for it is because it has a blend, and I can kind of mix that real signal with that compressed signal, and it just sounds great. So I get a nice attack and the sustain, and it's great. The next pedal I used is an exotic AC booster, and I use this pedal in 2 capacities. I use it as a clean boost. Not necessarily, actually, I take that back. I don't use it as a boost. I use it as a bright switch. When I step on it, my cleans are all a little bit brighter and glassier, and I'm not using it as a volume boost. So it's still at unity gain. The other capacity I use that I'll explain later when I talk about another pedal that's a drive that needs a little bit of a zing to it. So, but that AC booster I use if I'm going to do any chicken picking. I use it on Satisfaction Guaranteed by the firm, and I use it on anything where I'm playing clean and I need that clean, and I want it clean. The funny thing about Satisfaction Guaranteed is that I'm using another pedal also, and again, I'll go to that. That kind of gives it the sound of the record. The pedal after this is the Boiling Point by Rockbox. This, to me, is probably the best drive pedal I've ever used. It is awesome. It gives you that gain. I just say it's so clean. It has such a low noise floor. I would say that everyone should have this pedal. I'm just saying right now, it's awesome. I can't say one bad thing about it. To me, it's the sound that I want to hear, and I I voice it the way I like to voice it, but I like a bright drive that's, if I want, it has a lot of gain on him, but I'm only putting it at 50%, and it's still, it's, I want to say it's like Tube Screamer-ish, but I'm not a big fan of the Tube Screamer. It doesn't have that metallic sound that the Tube Screamer has to me, but it has the balls. I love the pedal. It's great. So now we're on the top part of this board, and the first pedal I have on the top right is my Korg Tuna. It's a pitch black. It's great. I've gone through, I want to say 3 or 4 tuners that I've used live that, number one, are inconsistent. That'll give me all kinds of mismatch readings. It'll tell me one note, and then a second later it'll tell me it's on it. It's just, I've had crazy luck with tuner pedals where I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This one not only works the best of all of them, the most consistent, it's also the easiest to read. It's really great. I mean, I recommend this on any board. It's like everything's huge, and you can see it clear as, and no matter what the lighting is, and it works great. So I use that. And after that, I go into Mike Vickery, which is Vic Audio, the 73 Ram's Head Fuzz, which to me is like that Gilmour tone, and it's killer. It really gives you like that David Gilmour fuzz for leads. With the delay set nicely, it just sounds killer. It's a great fuzz. I don't use it enough when I play with FM station because I haven't had the need for that type of, with a band is like that ominous mellow sound, and you need that cutting lead to cut across. We're doing much more simplified rock stuff, so it's like, and I don't mean simple in the style. I mean, it's just like the tone is like, it's not that complex. But this thing really can get the Gilmour sound. It'll never leave my board. It just sounds too good. The next pedal is a discontinued pedal by Brad Tjader called the Indigo Fuzz. And I initially saw this pedal. I'm trying to think of the guy's name from Austin, Texas. He does a bunch of, and he did a demo of this pedal, and I was like, that pedal's awesome. So I hunted one down and got it. And when I got it, I was like, maybe I have lower output pickups, but it lacked the amount of fuzz that he could get out of it. And not that it was a lot, but it just lacked that grit. So what ended up happening was, I ended up putting on the AC booster in front of it, and boom, all of a sudden, I now have that grit, and it gives it just a little bit of the push. So that's the little trick I use with the AC booster. The other thing is, if I'm using the Indigo Fuzz, so I can use the Indigo Fuzz if I want a mellow fuzz. The second I want to take a solo, boom, I hit on that AC booster, drive it, and then hit the Timmy. And, it's funny, and I'm not using high gains on a lot of this stuff. It's more low to medium gains, so the noise floor is generally low almost on everything. My highest noise floor is probably when I use the solo boost, the Timmy on top of the Angry Charlie, just because that's like a higher gain sound. So then the next pedal I haven't used at all in FM station, but to me it's such a great sounding pedal. It's the Black Cat Super Fuzz. Now this is like a Univox clone of the Fuzz, of the Super Fuzz, and it gives you that Smashing Pumpkins sound. Again, it's like over the top, that real crazy over the top fuzz. I just haven't had the need for it, but it's not coming off my board because that's a color on the palette that I just haven't had to use so far, but I don't want to pull it off. Then the Timmy is next, which I've talked about, which I always use the Timmy as just a solo boost for whatever I'm using. And then the last pedal in going into the face is the Moore Re-Echo. And I just use this as like a light slapback, so if I'm doing anything with country and I want to double, like that old tape echo where it's like a real fast slapback double echo, I use it. And I use that in the same capacity on the Firm song, Satisfaction Guaranteed, because that intro, it gives it like this reverb, this tape sound. It's great. So that's the board that I use that goes into the face of my amp. So the next board is going through the effects loop. Okay, and that starts with the Deja Vibe, the black one, by Full Tone. I use that. I use it here and there. Again, in this band, I really haven't had a full need for it, but when I go out and do like different other gigs, it's a very cool effect to use. I think it's a great sounding pedal. The pedal after that I use is the Rymon Ola, which I use as a chorus set as my favorite, and then I have it set up as a vibrato in the regular mode, so I can kind of get like that Beatle-esque sound in Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. You know, it's like a little short, quick vibrato sound. But for the most part, I'm using it as a chorus, as a 3-stage chorus. It sounds great. And after that pedal, I use the Diamond Tremolo. And I think the Diamond Tremolo is the best tremolo on the market. I'll swear up and down by it. It's great. It has a tap tempo. You can do so much with it. You can use 4 different... you can use a regular wave. I mean, one sounds like the green. I could just tell you, the green light sounds like Fender. The orange light sounds like a Vox tremolo. Then there's red, which is a square wave, and then there's red green, which is a chopped. It's got like a gate on it, so you can kind of get like all kinds of cool sounds. I love that pedal. That's a pedal that will never leave my board. Then the next pedal is the TC Electronics Helix, which is a phaser, which is fantastic for the price point and everything. It's great. It's awesome. Really good. And after that, I use the TC Electronics Vortex, which is their flanger. Again, excellent. Very good. After that's the TC Electronic Alter Ego, which is the delay. I use it with like a long trail delay, usually like a dotted eighth. And I keep it on the Binson Echo Rec setting, which I love. It's really great. The next delay I use is the New Neighbor Echelon Mono. And that one I keep as like a 350 to 400 millisecond delay that I use for solos and whatnot. I keep it on most of the time. There's a couple of times that I take it off. And then the last pedal I have is the New Neighbor Seraphim, which is a reverb, but it also has the shimmer effect you can use, which will like give you, I think, a fifth, sounds like a keyboard playing a fifth above the note you're playing as it fades, which is nice. And I use that I use that effect on Satisfaction Guaranteed also, when I play the acoustic strum and I hold that F, and then it sounds like there's a keyboard fading in underneath it. And I keep it nice so it's subtle. You don't really notice it. And for the most part, I really like a long reverb, like a long plate. And that's how I have it set most of the time. And that's basically my pedal board. And that's what I use. And the cool thing about it is, so if I go out with, I have a dual rectifier, and I also have a Crank Revolution 1 Plus. If I go out with any one of those amps, I still take the loop section. That goes with me with those amps too, so I can put that through the loop, starting from the full tone all the way down to the New Neighbor Seraphim. And then for the front board, the one that goes direct, I have a smaller board that has the Mesa dual rectifier switching on it, the crank switching on it, but then it also has like a Boss PS5, and it has the Analog Man mini bicomp compressor. But basically, I use that. It's very little pedal stuff except what I use for the effects loop, and that's basically it. The show last night, just to recap on that, went really great. Cops came like at 10 past 10, which is right around the last song we did, we ended with You Shook Me All Night Long. And the cops were like, yeah, when they're done, tell them to shut it down. So they let us play throughout, and we finished our 2 sets. We were happy. The guy that threw the party was happy. Everyone seemed happy. And so overall, it was a great night. We have another show coming up on Friday, the 28th of July, at the Last Shot in Stoughton, so that should be a cool gig. And the next video I want to do, I'm going to do a video on key signatures like we talked about. It'll be more like a lesson video, but I just wanted to come out and talk a little bit about my board since I got some video of it. And I'm not going to bring so much stuff to the Last Shot. Like I don't think I'm going to bring my lap steel, so I'll bring my camera and set it up there so we can get some video and get you to see the band. And I got to get back to talking about guitar players that I love and doing that. I just been so busy doing some rants But it's the summertime, it's hot, and people get pissy, and that's a good time to rant and rave like a lunatic. That being said, I am going to figure out what I'm going to do tonight. I'd like to go out, maybe go see a band or something. For now, I'm out. Very good.